big games have played really well. The French semifinal was on this big pitch with a crowd, and they won that one. And they also had the really big windmill final, which was again in front of a big crowd, live streamed. So it seems like for them, being on a show pitch can actually rev them up. The French team mentioned that at the beginning of the week, they had a few games where they had poor second halves, so they played quite well in the first half and then trailed off a little bit to the end, but they have cleared that up apparently last night with their semi. This team comes from a lot of different clubs across France. So a lot of Yaka, Chak, Sesquidiscus is no good. They chose a training squad of 40 with 3 weekend trials. In November last year, they made a final selection between players and practice players, and since then they've had a lot of team away weekends. Very similar story for the GB selection, having some selection trials at the end of last year, choosing the squad before the end of 2018, and then having weekend-long training camps throughout the season. And something that this GB squad has been aiming to do is really not be focused on any particular area of the UK. So looking at the clubs this team draws from, it's Bristol, Iceni. From the men's side, we've got Chevy, Clapham. We've got, from the mixed side, Reading, Smog, Black Eagles, Deep Space, lots of different players from different clubs coming together, and also from across the country. So the GB team, one of their trials was in Glasgow. Very rare for a UK national team to have a trial in Scotland. And then they spread their practices also geographically across the UK. So no player, the aim was for no player to have to travel too far for every single one of their practices. So really trying to build a team culture from a broad and disparate group of people. And so we'll see how that pays off for both of these teams. Both teams settling themselves in for this match, getting a good, calm team night last week, and ready for the pressure of this stadium.
Both teams very proud and pride themselves on their team culture. The British team, Team GB, was telling us that they love their team vibe. They feel very comfortable across the board. They said they play with smiles, no sad faces allowed, no yelling allowed, which is obviously great for the team vibe, get the positivity. Being able to engage your mental game is very helpful to have that kind of attitude. The French as well feel that they've got one of the nicest vibes. A couple of interesting looks you may see on the sideline from the French. They chug along like a freight train, and in fact, that goes from a Harry Potter reference, which I'm not overly familiar with, but I do know the key word there, Gryffindor, and it comes from wristbands they got at Windmill that emulated the Gryffindor colors, and they've taken on this choo-choo train to Hogwarts as their journey towards their final destination, and their final destination would love to be a victory here at EUC's.
Absolutely. We also know that each of these teams runs fairly clear O&D lines, so we'll be expecting to see that out of these teams. The French starting here on defense, pulling from their wide roster of D players, and Great Britain coming out with one of their offensive lines.
And we're happy to see the French did put on their white jerseys. They were in their blues and for the anthem against the Reds would have been an interesting one, but we've got French in white, GB in red, and we're underway here. A layout catch and drop for the first throw of the game. Unbelievable way to start. Melvin Tang couldn't hang on to that one. It was too far out in front. Now Ancelin puts one out again. What a series of opening throws. 0 for 2, 2 turnovers right away. And that's a good show of the nerves early in this game. Let's see who's able to settle.
Absolutely. 2 throws, 2 turnovers. You mentioned that really great bid there from Carla Link to try and keep that disc from Joe Winder alive, but not enough. But GB does get a second look.
Colt Hammer, the big man, as I've learned, was often referred to Ironside Steve when he first got into GB. Getting things going now. England, Great Britain gets to Winder. He winds up, sends it. That's Colt Hammer on the other side. Can he get there? He sure can. Finds the space. A great put by Winder, and after a sloppy initiation of that point, GB gets it together, strings a pass to the sideline, and jacks one the distance for the goal.
Great recovery there from Winder. The first throwaway is absolutely not what you want, and potentially only bested by the first pull catch drop. But Winder really collects himself there, gets that disc on the far sideline, and puts up an amazing throw to Colt Hammer, who's wide in acres of space. GB really earning themselves back the disc there. They'll be very happy with that conversion. The French defense looking a little bit frustrated with how much space Colt Hammer had open there in the end zone. But we know both of these teams love the deep game. We saw them warming up, both of them taking on quite a few drills that put discs long in both directions. We've been talking about the conditions here all week. Today, in this stadium, there's not too much wind. We were expecting it might be a little bit more blustery, but as it feels up in the stands, not that windy today.
We've had a gust or two, but these are optimal, ultimate conditions. Slight wind, the sun is shining, but not too hot today as it has been for most of this week. The stars have aligned for this mixed final. That pull sails out of bounds, and the French will take it to the brick mark. Delaval, one of the key O-line handlers for the French, takes it to the brick mark. Beaching awaits her there for the mark. Disc is in play. Delaval engages her handler, gets a great up line. Moirier. Continuation, needs a layout and gets it. Monet back to Moirier. Looked off the first, got the second, but there was a bid on the hip. Chevalier did a great job to keep that one. Now Monet. French playing in the attacking zone. Delaval back to Monet. Moirier with the disc now. GB sticking to a man defense, match rather. Delaval. Well contested, but the French continue to make connections. Faked the overtop. Chevalier gets the disc. Continued. Boyon. He's got room in the end zone. He's got himself and his team a goal. The French get on the board. Lachi with the goal, one apiece. Early days.
Great offense there from the French. Really had to move the disc a lot under pressure from GB, but not seeming too flustered by it. Lachi with the great high grab in the end zone to take it down. That's a player who plays with Seskadiscus, so one of the mixed representatives on this team. We see that great bid there from Burak on the GB team. He's known for his very close defense, and something I think we'll see from the GB D-line here. They've been doing it all week long, is on this back shoulder defense. So sitting behind their players, trying to take away the deep option, put off the thrower from that deep look, because they trust in the speed of their players, and so many times this weekend we've seen them come through for run-through Ds under. So the French squad may feel free on the underneath cuts, but they'll have to keep running through the disc very quickly to keep away from GB defense.
Bichon sends the pull. We're hoping that second point is more of an indication of how this game will go than the first after the sloppy start. It was incredibly tight GB defense that was responded to very well by the French. They were patient and continued to cut hard for every single disc. A great look at the way they're going to attack. GB puts it into play. Colt Hammer with the disc. Turner. Sidelines to Winder. Winder gets engagement. Dathan goes to goal, but the French gobble it up. Turnover in the attacking end zone. Now gone deep the other way. French looking to make big meters. Price Lazarus has it. Here comes the cavalry. Stall count mounting, but moved on Lapagnol. goes up and over. The man slipped. I wondered if that was the intended receiver. It goes to Price Lazarus. She gets the goal. 2-1. French with a big break.
Big break for the French. The GB O-line will definitely be regretting that turnover, but absolutely taken advantage of by the French. Price Lazarus with that gorgeous deep cut, taking that disc really well in the air and then catching the eventual goal. Just 22 years old, but has been playing for 9 years, a product of the Seattle-Washington scene, so that may well explain that. She says she's very happy to now be living in France and representing the France national team, and she does it well, putting the second goal on the board for France in this final.
Must recognize there the Chemignon throw. On the second throw, had time to possibly settle down, had some swing options, went for the deep shot, saw the separation, and a great no hesitation look to take advantage of the transition defense. So the French D-line set to pull.
We see here a GB O-line that's largely made up of their D-line players, so I think they are pulling the tactic of allowing their O-line to rest after that break and getting some fresh players out.
That pull nearly into orbit. The GB squad collects, and they're going the other way. Andy Lewis with the disc, pops one over to there. Sachs-Dixon cleans it up. Sachs-Dixon, one to watch, more so on the other side of the pitch, going deep. He doesn't lose too many battles. This one goes deep. Contest in the end zone. Oh my goodness! Up and over. What a grab by Karen Kwok to take the next goal, tying things up at 2.
Kwok absolutely ruining the disc out of the air there. You could see her cutting so intently for that deep. She wanted it so badly. Kwok has been a huge player on the GB women's side for several years. She plays her club with Iceni in London. She was on the GB women's squad the last national cycle. She is an absolute powerhouse down pitch and comes up with the goal.
The defense got in front there. Was Elise Becker, but Kwok made an exceptional play to go over top, around and over, in fact, there to get that disc.
That's the kind of emphatic O hold that GB will want to be answering there with their D-line, putting in the offensive easy hold for them.
Off to a great start here. 2 apiece, very early on in the contest. GB D-line sends it the other way. French will settle under. De Laval, her opening throw duty, she'll walk it to the brick.
We see a zone look on defense here from GB from this France offense.
Let's see how the French handle the zone. De Laval wanted the around, but it was cut off well by the front of the cup. Marier there, so was the defense. Great job to get a hand to it. And some hand signals suggesting a foul, I believe. Must not have been a foul. A violation. Moirier gets it back into play. Through the cup, a bump on the mark. De Laval with the disc. French attack, staying patient before they attack into this zone, making sure they know what they're dealing with in front of them. Unfortunately, not able to suss it out too well as GB step in the lane and get a D there.
Run through D by Amelia Kenneth. She's going to do that all day.
And they cannot convert, not even on one throw. The French try to restore their hold here. De Laval with the disc. Working with Bravo and Moirier in the handle position. Bravo engaged, she gets. Up line for some meters, Delaval. Marier. French hoping to settle. If nothing else, they've got GB out of their zone and into a match look. That one to goal, but not gonna get there, especially not with that layout bid.
Huge play from Nick Williams, getting absolutely horizontal on the defense there.
Must be said the throw wasn't quite on regardless. Great display of athleticism, but throw was behind, giving him the advantage. Here comes GB. Turton gets to Williams. A bump on the upline move. Boxall. Far sideline. Big dump to Palmer. And an excellent around, but the layout from Cox and Kelly can't get there, and it's slapped to ground. Throw too far in front. France again. Combray gets the disc. He has shown a range of long throws throughout this tournament. And another step in front for GB. A lot of turns here in this point. Knotted up at 2 apiece. And things are starting to get interesting here. Turns are available with these two sound teams. The Jets are on. That one's in the end zone. That one's finally caught. GB answer. In the end, a sloppy point, but the last throw good for a midfield huck.
Absolutely huge throw there. Palmer to Kenneth in the end zone. Palmer has that throw on her all day, and Kenneth has the wheels underneath her to reel it in. As you said, a messy point. The GB zone there, quite effective. A couple of just run-through tap Ds from them. The French, however, giving the GB a run for their money on when they're on defense. GB with a few overthrows. I think Cox and Kelly had about 4 layouts in that point. So GB really going to town trying to get this work, and they do with a break back.
Both these teams priding themselves on the excitement of this game. Both really want to get into it. Let's see if these nerves settle right now. The nerves getting the best of them, and it's very interesting to see it work out as we go.
We mentioned the wind is not too strong today. It's definitely not as strong as we saw in the GB semifinal yesterday. However, it's interesting to note on this pitch, because of where the stadium stands are, they cover most of the pitch, but they leave the very back half of the end zone exposed. So there is often a slightly different wind back there. I think we saw that last disc take a little bit of a bobble right before Kenneth caught it. So teams will need to watch out for that.
French O-line sees Bichon join them. They did say there would be a player or two who would cross over in certain situations. They're not a super strict. They like to, obviously, when things are going well, they will stay to their O&D. But down an early break here, they're going to bring Bichon over to play with the O-line. Zone look again from GB. It looked good for them on the last possession. Delaval. Marier working behind the disc, side to side. Bichon gets a touch. Antoine. Boyon goes to Marier. Big height mismatch on the Marier matchup with Rolo Sachs-Dixon. Lachi. French now playing against a match, and a poach comes off there for a defensive effort. Doesn't get it, and the D able to catch up before the next pass bites them. Richon with the disc. Now Boyon. Marier, France, looking like they're steadying the ship here. That one is going to come back suspiciously open is Delaval, and a pick indeed was called.
One of the things that this French side are so good at doing is rotating through their handlers and cutters. We just saw Delaval there in the stack. She's the primary O-line handler for this side, but very comfortable cutting as well.
Hammer, Bichon's there, but too far. Wind got a bit of it and dragged it further than he would have liked. And GB will start from their goal line. GB break unit on the field here. Kime winds up, just holds off from delivering that one. It looked like it was all good. And the defense runs through there. Céline Antoine, known for her defensive prowess and her handling ability after the turn. Wide open is Boyon. The French tie it up 3 apiece. What a wild game we've got on our hands here. It's very entertaining. Not the cleanest game we've ever seen, but not to bother. We're being entertained with all this wild action.
Absolutely. The players on the pitch won't want to turn over as much as they have, but it gives us a lot of excitement watching. We get to see the D-line play O, the O-line play D, both sides from both teams. The GB defense there did a really great job, particularly on their male match switches. There were a lot of really excellent plays that were shut down by them in the handler backfield by moving between the who was defending the cutter and the thrower. But the French D-line just showing their skill at getting the disc open with swings and around, not bothered by the little wind that's picked up. GB with a few opportunities to get a break to take them in the lead in terms of breaks, but France stopping them there, coming out here asking more of this GB O-line.
So GB O-line, Winder picks up, centers. Dathan didn't get what he liked right away, now finds Winder. Winder loves to wind up that one. I think eyes left him just as the throw went off. And the French now the other way, Ancelin. And another quick turnover. Coldhammer winds up. GB with the disc back. Coldhammer finds Winder. Stutter steps everywhere, little room, a little bit of confusion out of the GB attack there, but they seem to settle and get their space reorganized. Winder goes to center with all sorts of room to Turner. Now sent the length. Coldhammer's there in front of Lapagnol. GB dictating the pace, up 4-3 at the moment.
Sam Turner there with a great deep put to Coldhammer. The GB O-line there looking a little bit flustered, a little bit frantic when they're in their backfield. A lot of their options are being shut off by the French. If they can get these deep cuts and deep throws off, they do look completely on the money. But the French, perhaps having watched GB's semifinal last night, where the O-line had a little bit of fluster when they were put under a lot of pressure on the resets. We did speak to the French, and we know that they watched that game in order to set up their tactics for this one. And it seems to be paying off for them in terms of the tight handler matches, really stressing the O-line handlers out. We'll see if they're able to continue that pressure throughout the match.
Great to see both these teams referring back to the Alti TV broadcast to check out their opposition. Obviously, they all watch the other games too, because they just can't get enough of this Ultimate, just like you and I, Joe, and all those fans of ours back home. Another thanks for joining us here at Alti TV and this fan seat production. It's been, as we said, an incredible week. So much action to keep our finger on the pulse for. A difficult job to keep it up, but a very exciting job. We're thrilled to be the ones in these seats to bring it to you at home. French now. Delaval with Moirier. Bravo. And Combré gets a touch before sending back to his handling unit. French retire some meters there, now find the far side of the field. Delaval and Moirier. Raveau gets another touch. GB stay in their zone look. It's been effective enough. Turns have not been the issue in this game. They are finding ways to be generated, either way of error or some defensive efforts. They are coming, or they have in the first part. Anyways, that one just beyond the hand of the defense to Combray. Now Moirier back to Combray, and around the field they go, the French. Delaval. Raveau. And again, now near sideline, Combray gets it. Oh, that one into a tight space, and another to Chevalier. Fakes the scuba. That one long jumped in, a very crafty throw. The GB squad question whether he was in or not. From our seats live, it looked in. We'll see if we might get another look while they discuss what happened. That was a difficult look to get a better perspective. I do believe he was in the air, my perspective, and it seems like that's what they've settled on down there. That one does count as a goal. It's tied up again, 4 apiece here in the first half in Győr. How do we separate these teams so far? It seems like they've both gotten away with a few errors and have both kind of put them behind themselves now and are just going toe-to-toe here.
Absolutely. Great French offensive possession there. Incredibly close defense as we see this last. That is a very crafty throw for him to be able to get up.
Whew. Ever so close between those hands clapping and that foot leaving the earth. A tough one to tell, but without video replay for the players immediately and without having to get into a heated negotiation about that one, it was close enough to be allowed as that 4th goal for the French.
We hear the choo-choo train call of the French go up as they try and board the Hogwarts Express.
Let's see if they find it. That would mean a break on this point if they did, but Winder's probably got other ideas. He centers to Dathan. Wilkinson. Very quick movement by GB. Turner. Upfield to Winder. A travel called on the throw before from Turner, or perhaps a question of boundaries. Must be a travel. Yes, there's the hand signal there.
That will set GB back quite a fair pace. Everyone will have to reset to where they think they were when that catch was made. Players just discussing where they should be on the pitch.
We're back in action here. Link whipped up line, and the throw comes the other way to Dathan. Now Winder. And I am very impressed with the way Winder really winds up that disc. The huck fakes are very convincing out of him. Now he goes deep. He's got Sax Dixon, Lepagnol in front, and takes the disc. Well read by Lepagnol there. A dangerous receiver to cover indeed is Sax Dixon, and Lepagnol does the job this time.
Massive defense there. In a jump ball, we see Sax Dixon win so many of those, but Lepagnon just getting in front of him, not giving him a chance to look at the disc.
Ancelin fell down, and Bichon had no choice. He goes the other way. It's too far out in front, and Sax Dixon had position. He had to take it back from Lepagnol as he was beat at the other end.
You could see the fire in Sax Dixon's eyes there, not to be beaten on both sides of the pitch. Absolutely put the wheels on and motored down there to get out in front. Lepagnon realizing the disc was going too far. Sax Dixon hits the ground hard, but doesn't seem hurt.
So GB calmed and collected before they start this point. Winder on the slow walk to go pick up the disc. You see some proud Irish fans in the stands. Winder. Ancelin receives him in the mark. Sachs Dixon comes under and just gets away with one there. Dathan had to go to earth to get that. Winder again. Winds up, delivers. The chase is on. Ellie Taylor gets there. The goal counts. GB continues to dictate the pace. It's 5-4, 26 and a half minutes into this one.
Massive takedown by Taylor in the end zone there. Her teammates really celebrating her for that one. She is an unbelievably fast cutter. She was making shapes all over the pitch for the whole of that point. She made several deep cuts in a row that were looked off. That one finally gets the disc from Winder, hits her in stride. She does a great job to take it down under a lot of pressure, but that is a goal and a hold for GB.
That's a big goal. Every goal in this game is a big goal right now. Let's see how the French respond. So far, no separation by more than one in this game. What a great read. Defense did everything possible. Was Marion Saint-Jean. She went up the best she could with the position she had. The throw was just right from Winder. And the read, even with the defense in front, sensational for GB to take that fifth goal.
So we see some crowd shots. It's interesting to note that for the previous final we had, which had Ireland in it, we had a very loud Irish sideline calling for them. In this one, the crowd's not clearly for either of these two teams. The French side and the GB side, their fans quite quiet in the stands.
Reserve, maybe biting their nails, too nervous to really scream. This one gets away from the French very early. Another first throw turn. And GB will see if they can capitalize. Boxall picks up the disc. Ooh, now that one, Boxall couldn't get there. The cut was slow to develop from Hay, but there is a call on this play.
Some contact in the stack-up pitch. The discussion will be whether it prevented the cutters from getting free in order to give Boxall another look up pitch.
A tough break for the French, if that is indeed the case. They thought they got away with it. Another quick break back or turn the other way anyhow. The discussion ensues. We will see what is resolved from it very soon. Monet coming off his spot to involve himself in the conversation. Looks like GB will maintain possession. Boxall has the disc back. Back to where we started. Nick Williams gets this one centered. Burrick.
Hay was acres of space free in the end zone, but Burrick holstered that shot. It is now definitely windy on this pitch and coming a little bit from the left of your screen to the right of your screen. So GB going upwind. Does France get another turnover?
Another turn. As we say, this game has had its share of them thus far, but still little separating the two squads, even with the turns in the play. That one, Moirier shoots. Two Frenchmen, one GB defender. That's all they needed to get the turn. Boxall with the cleanup. Now GB in their own end. Ooh, that one difficult to maintain possession, but hands are kept around the plastic. GB continues for another pass. Boxall again. Big centering pass. Burak. Popped up and towards sideline. It floats. Well read there to keep it alive for Kenneth, the newly shone Eurostar. And GB wise to call a timeout there after a series of turns.
Yeah, I think a good option to steady the offense there. They have got a turn, so it's a D-line offensive possession, so it's all to play for here. We are seeing quite a lot of turns from GB, and I wonder if the wind is potentially playing a role here. A side that's as good as GB, you don't really think of them as that affected by the wind, but we did see them yesterday in their semifinal, which was very, very windy, quite affected by the blustery wind. We're seeing quite a lot of these throws, even when they are secured into the hands of the receivers, perhaps going a little bit different to the way than they were intended to come out of the hands of the throwers. So they warmed up in quite still atmosphere, and now as the game progresses, they're having to adjust to a slightly different wind. I think a good opportunity to give this D-line offense a second to take a measure of what the air is doing.
As you say, teams like this have great throwing skills across the board, but when it is gusty, when it is come and go, no matter how good of a thrower you are, if the wind's changing every couple minutes, very difficult to continually adjust. If that is the case, it's been wreaking havoc. Something has been causing it. These turns coming from all sorts of angles for a variety of reasons. GB timeout, looking to settle the ship and have a clean hold the rest of this possession. Benjamin Burak stands over the disc. GB set in their starting sequence, and Moirier approaches to put this disc into play. First throw works for GP, continuation, beaching, centering again. Boxau goes towards the goal, but that one hits turf just about at the goal line, and the French have another go. These turnovers are coming in droves.
Plenty of them in this point. GB with a very close to scoring opportunity. Smart move to have that effective pull play, but then just can't complete as they get towards the end zone.
So Delaval will pick up a Yaka stalwart. Gets the dump, playing in their own end zone now with the wind in their face. This has been referred to as Callahan country. Let's see if the French can avoid that. They've avoided that much anyways. Big shot goes up, contest underneath. Misread on the first, seemed to have recovered, and then flips it over in his own hands. The French unable to get any advantage for this point.
And that play does pull the crowd in. Lots of excitement from both sides. An amazing defensive pressure by Williams, a great second effort, and then just out of the hands of the clap catch.
Boxall. Burak gets meters there to Melvin Tang. Playing off of the far sideline. That one's not gonna make it, or is it? Big bid to keep the possession alive from Boxall. Swiping fake upfield. Hay centers it in the end. Kenneth. That one shot for goal. Well, what a last second swat there from Moirier. He was beat for height, but took the better path. Got up early and got a hand to knock that one away.
Bit of a replication of that pass point. Both offensive players getting a second look and just not being able to reel it in. Kenneth looking frustrated with herself there. This point has the most turns so far.
A second timeout in this point, this time by the French. They're going to start back on their own goal line in the corner. They'll have a quick chat about it first. Can only imagine what would be uttered in these huddles right now.
Absolutely. One thing that we haven't been able to mention yet from the GB side is that they've had quite a tournament in terms of injuries. Quite a few of their players picking up injuries, some of which have allowed them to stay in games and some of which haven't. A big one in this game is that Sam Vile picked up a wrist injury in the semi-final and has not cleated up today, does not look like he'll be playing. He is typically a D-line handler for this GB team, brings a wealth of experience and calm for when the D-line gets a turn and wants to punch in that break. He's missing from this squad today, so potentially some experience of the calm, chill D-line handlers a little bit lacking on this GB team. That may be making the difference in their ability to convert these breaks.
You see some of the French women there, Rasta, Aline Mondiot in the center of the shot. The French women had a exceptional tournament here. Some struggles and difficulties in the lead up and even in the first few days of the tournament, but they won the right games and exceeded expectations, finishing 6th in the women's division. Back to this, the French have a chance to hold, and it's almost bizarre to say hold after 6 turnovers in this point, 3 apiece, but nothing decided, nobody catching it in the end zone, and they start from their own end. Let's see if we find a 7th turnover or a goal next.
GB will be looking to continue the defense that we've seen from them all tournament, marking the cutters deep and playing really tight reset handler offense. France will be looking to have the offense that we've seen from them all tournament, which sees their handlers very happy to shoot deep and go upfield. Those two, quite a good matches for each other strategically.
This team's really feeling each other out now. A lot of the matchups getting comfortable with one another. And that one, first throw, turnover again. Burak, can they finally capitalize and get this break? They've had so many opportunities. Now they get it. The French unable to put anything together there on that final possession. And finally, GB able to make them pay for it and get the break.
Nick Williams taking that disc in the middle of the end zone. A really neat IO flick finding that space. A few discs still not quite at chest level from GB as they went in to try and convert this break, but find it they do. And after a really long, hard-fought point, we talk about this a lot. It often feels like the team that reels in the point that has the most turnovers in the game is the team that really continues the momentum from that point.
It's the first bit of 2-point separation we've seen all game. GB up by 2, it's 6-4. You saw Tessa Hunton's shot there. Still fighting through this tournament after suffering a finger injury earlier in the rounds.
Yeah, in the Hungary game, GB women took 2 shots. Tessa injured her finger running into a player, finger first. I believe the hospital suggested she not play, and I believe that she still thinks that she is completely capable. And then we also had Hannah Randalls taking a tooth in the head from a Hungarian player in that game, having to go to hospital to get it checked out, but completely fine as well.
Crazy injury, that one. Not heard of too many teeth to the head in a game of Ultimate, but nothing shocking in this game. Bichon gets the disc, he winds up. That one's got a lot of curve on it. It's gonna go the distance, but Tessa Hunt pops it up, and now macked away on the second effort. Andy Lewis makes sure there's no damage there. There was separation, but Bichon let that shot hang too long.
Yeah, definitely too much float on that disc. 3 GB defenders there. Lewis comes down with the final swat. Turton in front of him considered calling a foul, I think, if it had been a French defender being there, but the GB D-line get another turnover on the French.
Winder went for the backhand, then gave the forehand. Sack Dixon is behind Combray. And Combray's defense just good enough. to get Sax Dixon unable to get up. Very rare do we see anything like that, so kudos to the Cambrai defense and perhaps a bit of help from the wind.
Absolutely. Definitely a great defensive pressure there from Cambrai. We don't often see Sax Dixon not catching deep throws. That one again, perhaps just having a little bit too much float on it, leaving a little bit too much time for the defense to catch up. GB gives it back to the French O-line.
But not for long, as has been the case with a few of these French transitions. They give it right back, this time to Winder, and given right back again. A hot, spicy throw in the middle, nearly has two French hands on it. One was all they needed. Delaval with the disc from their own end into a bit of wind. Bichon centers. Last time he sent it, there was a bit too much wind under it. Boyon. Hammer to Cambrai. Now another deep shot. Sax Dixon catching up. Incredibly well read there by Ronan Bichon. He hits the ground and is staying down momentarily. Assesses his body, rolls around, and kind of hops off the field. Lower body injury, perhaps an ankle, but what a job to hang on to that disc.
Absolutely massive play there by Bichon in the end zone. Hope he's not hurt too much. Looks like he hit the ground quite hard, but worth it to take down that high disc as the French score in what is now the upwind end zone. Definitely a little bit of wind making this disc hang. Here we see the early defense. Hunt getting a hand on it. Turton in the way, and Andy Lewis coming just over her. A triple defense there from the GB side. And going back in the opposite direction, quite a few turns from either side. Here's that winder inside out that just goes too far. Andy Lewis making his best effort, and then we see the French team pick up.
Here is
Cambrai
the shot.
Puts it into the end zone. Massive grab from Bichon.
Grabs what appears to be his left knee or shin. Nothing blatantly obvious from our second look. We're hoping he's okay. We hope that he'll be back out here, but more than anything that he will be fine with whatever has ailed him there. GB playing on offense. Colthammer. A great name for a Bond villain, if you ask me. Pretty great name for an awesome Ultimate player, just the same. Dathan. Around, well thrown for that side-to-side cut. Colthammer gets it, hanging out underneath. Continued on, it's Turner. Turner winds up, gets his mark bidding, and is off to the races. Wilkinson. Good mark defense by Ancelin there. Has made Wilkinson go the other way, but she does find her next receiver in Ellie Taylor. Now, GB going backwards, Link, and a pick on the play. What action we've got in front of us here. Again, we need to bring up that Ancelin defense. He really extended that and gave some opportunity for a turn. It never came, now it does. Ancelin was about to go to the races and decided to keep his team with their heartbeats unable to race, slows things down as Chassigneux picks up with a clean stack in front. Disc may have taken a beating there. They're sending it to sideline with hopes of getting a shiny new one back in. She's got a new disc in hand, does Chassigneux. Gets Antoine. Antoine's underneath to Roblet. Chassigneux goes up line, great cut from her. Chassigneux goes way around. Ancelin needs to put on the Jets and still too far out in front. A turnover on the attacking goal line.
Massive athletic plays from both teams here, but you almost wish they didn't need to be making them. There's probably some safer offense that both teams could be playing here.
Colthammer gets. Colthammer gives. This one, a gainer, big gainer for Ellie Taylor. Winds up, does Kime, then comes back. Colt Hammer, far sideline. Bid comes around but can't get a touch. Turner's got the disc on the doorstep, far sideline.
Pick called in the stack. Players quite close together. We'll just reset.
Turner, link up line. That one comes around. Now another big around far side of the field. Kime winds up, gets Anselin on the fake. Now engages his dump and gets good give-go action there. Now a shot for goal. Colt Hammer slides into that one. Great Britain up 7-5, nearing the midway mark in this game.
GB will be very happy to have put that O-line in. They moved some personnel around there. They had a few changes. So we saw Winder head over to the D-line, and I think we see Josh Kime come over from the D-line onto the O-line and slot into this handling core with Dom Dathan and Carla Link. They're still being pressured very, very heavily by the French defense. We mentioned Anselin putting up an amazing defensive pressure there. I think they're still being, pressured a lot down backfield. When they can get the throws up into the pitch, things do seem to move a little bit better, but perhaps they might look to get the disc to Carla Link a bit more. She's such a strong thrower. She's maybe being marked out a little bit less than the male handlers on that line, and it could be great to see what she can bring if they can get the disc to her a little bit more.
The French down by 2 now. They have played from behind a few times in this tournament. Most significantly, the game against Italy, they were well behind, I believe, by as many as 7. They fought their way back through that deficit and came out on top in the end. They'll have their work cut out for them with this even stronger GB side. Lapagnol plays to Monet. Underneath comes.
And a travel called on the pitch.
Monet gets back. That one needed to go down to ground was Ruffier. Ooh, that one just too far in front, and a huge athletic bid by Cox and Kelly to make the French pay for the imprecise throw. Palmer picks up. That one straight away, Sachs Dixon on the chase. Not even a need for a layout, he gets there. Half is taken by GB, 8-5. After a lot of nerves on display in the early part, it seems GB settled them and take the late half momentum to walk in with a 3-point buffer.
Absolutely. That's the D-line offense that GB's been wanting to play this whole game. A massive layout from Cox and Kelly, just poaching in that lane, recognizing when the throw is going to go up, getting his body in the way, and then beautiful 2-possession, really clean D-line offense to throw the disc into the end zone. That's the offense they've been wanting to play this whole game. We haven't seen too much of it from them yet, but being able to close out the first half by demonstrating a bit of it will really give them confidence that they'll be able to continue with it into the second half. We see the GB captainship team coming together to have some discussion, potentially talking about what they're going to want to do now as they go into the second half. Lots of adjustments, I think, from both sides, but even though GB are up, I think potentially more adjustments wanted from the GB side. Their play not looking exactly like they were wanting it to. France looking quite strong as they come in, just stifled a little bit when the GB D-line is on a roll, not able to answer to some of that pressure.
A bit of pressure from GB that they're unable to respond to, but I think the biggest problem for the French is their inability to capitalize when they get the turns. They've had so many they've given back in less than 3 throws. 1 throw transitions, 2 or 3 throw transitions. They give it right back. They've done that far too many times. They are going to and are now in a situation that they're desperate for breaks.
Absolutely.
And they're getting the opportunities and not able to capitalize. That is the problem. They've got to get their mental toughness here more than anything. Just do what they've been doing. The GB defense is good. Credit to them. No two ways about it. But the French are shooting themselves in the foot, and unforced errors have what has separated the two teams to this point.
Absolutely. If we look at some of the stats so far in this game, the longest point that we saw, the point that GB won to take 6-4, we had 4 turns from the French, 3 turns from GB. That GB ended up putting it in to get that break, but it took them 22 passes overall to put that one in. A bit of a momentum changer point, that one potentially, as we call them. But then also, as we look down the GB stats line, the stats are very evenly distributed. Winder has 2 assists, Colthammer has 3 goals, but other than that, lots of players across the roster with an assist or a goal each. On the French side, it's also equally spaced. A couple of players with an assist and a goal, Cambrai, Bichon, Bouillon, but no clustering necessarily from either of these two teams. All of the stats distributed very evenly down the roster, demonstrating the depth, demonstrating the rotation we get from both of them, O-line and D-line on the pitch, and also demonstrating some of that strategy that we were talking about, where the handlers are very happy to cut deep, the cutters are very happy to come back under and be handlers. We see a lot of strength from both sides on that one.
Incredible first half to this game, an incredible vibe we've got here in the stadium. We will get a bit more of a taste from that vibe now as we throw down to our field reporter, Hannah Pendlebury.
I'm here with Ali Tinknell, the GB Performance Director. Ali, I'm sure you're delighted to see your team up in this first half. You guys have been really unfortunate with injuries throughout this tournament, some bizarre ones in that Hungarian matchup. How have you dealt with those mentally?
So yeah, some really extreme injuries and ones that I've not really seen much in Ultimate before, but we're very lucky with the medical staff that we have, so everything's been sorted out really quickly, which I think helps the team. There's a really strong team with a lot of depth, so I don't think it's throwing the team too much. I think they've managed to kind of get past that, and a lot of those players are back on the field, which is good to see.
Excellent. Second question is, obviously the defensive breaks have been a little bit of a grind. They've not had a clean one yet. What do you think the adjustment needs to be going into the second half?
I think the team will try and just stick with their game plan for the rest of the second half. I don't think they'll want to mess with too much in terms of the tactics. I think they're just going to want to clean it up and try and keep everything as simple as possible for the rest of the game.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And good luck to your team and the other guys. We'll throw it back to you guys up in the booth.
Great bit of insights there from Hannah Pendlebury. Great to get some insights from the field there and what's going on with the GB team. They have looked strong in the second part of that first half. They're starting to get their game to flow together. Some good capitalization on the French errors, and we've got ourselves a cracking game. I will not go anywhere near counting the French out of this one, especially with the amount of opportunities they're giving each other, or they gave each other in the first half. But GB, must be said, are looking good. They did just start to find their stride there before the French have had an opportunity to get going.
Definitely. Both of these two teams heading into the second half will have some things that they want to change, some things they want to tweak. Neither has been perfect. It's interesting, GB are up 3 breaks to 1, so they have a 2-point advantage. France will come out the next half starting on offense, so they have an opportunity to get one of those points back immediately. It is a 3-point lead, but the play has felt very, very close between the two teams. It definitely doesn't feel like a safe lead for the British team. The French also, as you say, definitely not out of it at all. They've had some amazing play, some very strong defense. They're doing a really good job of adjusting to this wind, to this weather. We've seen lots of plays go both ways in this game as we see a few of these replays with just so many opportunities to make the catches, and the frustration that we see from the players. They're used to making these throws. They're used to making these catches. As we said, this is probably the strongest opposition that either of these two teams have faced so far in their histories as a team, this incarnation, this season round as the European Championships. It will serve them in great stead as they head towards the World Championships next year. This is the game that they want. I don't think either team necessarily want to be making the mistakes that they're making, but they want to be being pushed hard at this point in the season. The last game at the European Ultimate Championships, the winner will be the mixed division champion. And a game like this that requires mental toughness as well as skills, as well as adjusting to conditions, is exactly what they want at this point in their season, in their campaign towards Worlds.
We talked about the French and their advantage, potential advantage they may have from having played in some big games. The windmill final, the semi-final on the stadium pitch here. So far they look a little bit frazzled, perhaps by the big stage, perhaps something about the nerves. They have not been able to really steady the ship. Some adjustments must be made, but I don't think it's tactically. I think it is emotionally, mentally. The French just need to execute what they do. The spacing's fine, a bit more sound in their throws for the wind, a bit more assessment of which way that wind is blowing and which direction they're aiming towards with their throws. We got to see the French tighten up.
Absolutely. We just to give you a bit of an update about the conditions here. It is a lovely day today. It's about 3:30 local time, and compared to most of the other days we've had here, it's quite mild. We've got some cloud coverage, so while it's warm out there, it's not as blistering as some of the previous days. The athletes are not employing some of the cooling down tactics that we've seen them use earlier in the tournament. I don't know if it's to either team's advantage, but I'm sure the athletes appreciate a little bit of a cooler temperature out here. And the wind, as we mentioned, it is present. It's coming from the left of your camera to the right of your camera. So the French, who are starting out on offense here, will be going in mostly a downwind direction. There's a little bit of crosswind too, but not strongly in any particular direction. So the teams will have to adjust to that with their throws, their expectations of where the throws are going to go, their expectations of which shots their handlers are going to be able to take. And hopefully the halftime huddle for GB there was plenty of opportunity for them to talk a little bit about how they want to see their throws coming out in the second half.
You see a lot of shots of the crowd there. Our crowd full. We've got some fans from Győr themselves, but full of a lot of the players who have endured this weather and these grueling 100-minute games all week long. They were treated to a beautiful party last night at a venue on the river and are very happy to be able to just relax in their plastic seats. As Bichon sends it right away, Antoine is there. The French have done something right in that talk because they come out swinging. It's 8-6, a good response from a sloppy first half.
Absolutely beautiful one-throw offense there from the French. Antoine getting free in acres of space. She made a hard cut under that forced Melvin Tang to bid on it to stop that, and then she just ran deep with incredible speed. Antoine has played on the last cycle of the French team that competed in London, so lots of international experience for her. Just a very strong cutter and a beautiful put that knew exactly how to work with the wind to get into that space for her.
And that put comes from Bichon. We saw him go out earlier after making a huge goal grab, wondering if he was going to be back. We're happy to see him back, probably not as happy as the French are to see him back on the line, dropping dimes and throwing assists like that.
Absolutely. Bichon, another player who's been playing with the French national mixed team before. He's played with them since 2010, as has his wife, the number 19, Sophie Bichon, who's been playing with them since 2014.
So that one lands inside. Josh Keim picks up, gets it to Coldhammer. He winds up, slows it down briefly, now centers, it's Turner. Turner gets more meters. Continued along again. Taylor goes for goal. What a well-thrown disc over top of the defender to Turner for the goal. GB answer. Both teams hold so far in the second half. It's tidied up at least.
Absolutely, much tidier. Really great offense down this sideline from the GB squad. Ellie Taylor, when she caught that under, she faked that first throw. They're really respecting the French male defenders at this point. They've seen them make some incredible plays. She had a cut open. She decided to wait for the next one. Turner's there. He's able to go up over his defender, but between two French defenders and take it down in the end zone for the clean hold for GB.
Can't credit that throw enough with the defender in front and field space running out behind. Obviously caught at the back of the end zone. A perfectly weighted disc. GB stretched back to 3 points out in front. 61, nearly 62 minutes into this game. Time not necessarily a factor. They're scoring at a pace. The French offensive line awaits a 4-woman point this time. Moirier picks up and goes to Delaval in her own end zone. Lachi comes under. Then she throws too far in front for her intended receiver, and GB with another opportunity here. Cox and Kelly will stand over the disc. Palmer goes up line. She comes back, all sorts of traffic, but finds space and an athletic throw over her head there. That one for goal and cannot be handled. The French will get another chance.
Beaching another player who's struggled with injuries this tournament at Talampaya. She broke her hand. It's really not affecting her play too much, but does make it difficult if you have a broken hand to make the catches that you usually make.
Moirier. He winds up. He's had enough of that in his own end. Goes big the other way. Gets a big play out of his receiver in Boyon. There was some contact on the reception and a discussion about it between the two.
Definitely a lot of contact coming in there from Barak. A hard to read disc as it did float at the very last minute, but Barak takes a line that really causes him to cause a lot of contact with the player he's defending there.
The catch will stand. The remaining attack will return to their positions at the time of the catch, and we're back in play. A few stutter steps from Boyon, finally gets it off to Ruffier. Up line goes to Chevalier. Chevalier shakes his mark off his feet, then goes the other way. Boyon is there. The French convert this time. They're back within 2, 7-9, still in favor of GB.
That's even though it was a hotly contested and enthusiastically celebrated point from the French, again, it is an O-line possession. It is a conversion for the O-line and into the end zone that's potentially slightly downwind, so it could be the slightly easier end zone. Obviously, neither of them are easy against the defense from the other team, but this throw just goes all the way across the end zone, is well fielded into that break side. Defenders aren't there to stop it. GB will need to answer back now with a hold of their own.
9-7. French D-line. Set 5 meters back behind their line. Ready to pull. It's up and sent. Robles puts it a great pull, we must say there. Martin Hall picks up for GB. Colt Hammer now with the disc. Colt Hammer goes around. Dathan. Hammer fake. No bite on that one. Kime gets it. A very quick give-go there. Now to Wilkinson. Well, through the middle. Wow, what a play. Off balance. He did drop it, though, in the end. I thought he had that disc, but it must have been a ground strip. Ancelin now. And the French looking for an all-important break with the scoreline as such. Ancelin. Robles back to Ancelin. All sorts of room. A poach came off to help, and there was an open receiver, but they were not able to find her. Lepagnol finally gets to who was the poached receiver. That's Saint-Jean. And Ancelin goes 2 ways before he gets it back. Ancelin still not in. French on the doorstep, and we have a foul called on the field.
Few throws back, at least one throwback, I believe. I saw that hand signal go up, so the players will discuss whether it affects or not, but several players did stop a while ago.
Number 13, Julien Gabriel with the disc right now. We'll see if he keeps the disc after this call is resolved.
Blistering handler resets there from the French. The GB side, I know they've been practicing their reset defense. They've been fairly proud of how it's performed so far in this tournament, but the French handlers just cut after cut after cut, willing to take as many as it takes to get free, to get open, and they have been getting open and able to get the resets and swings off.
We hear the first whistle there, indicating 30 seconds of negotiation. Ancelin, as noted in the last game we covered by Ravi Vasudevan, has got his accreditation to be a game advisor. He knows these rules inside out. A good man to be part of this discussion.
And the whistles on the pitch, they just give the players an indication of how much time has elapsed. There's no time limits as long as discussion is still productive.
Gabriel goes back to Ancelin, and the French stack finds their previous positions. Ancelin, violation, false start. Let's try it again. We are live and we are in. Ancelin with the disc, goes back to Antoine. Ancelin gets it again, right on the doorstep, was about to force feed it there, but decides not, waiting for something else to develop. Small spaces, he goes to Bichon. He gets it right where he wants it. The French get an all-important break here to bring it back to within one. GB still in front, 9-8. What a break for the French.
I think they'll be calling themselves on the Hogwarts Express now. I definitely think the French team will be celebrating their train taking off on the way to the castle that they're intending to receive. The GB team walking back to their own end zone line with their head a bit down. They played amazing defense here right on that end zone line. There were so few options, but the French team does find one in the end with Cutters doing a great job of remaining calm and continuing to provide options. The French will be very happy with that break. The scoreline, there's 3 breaks so far for GB, 2 for France. So GB still leading by a break. That's what's got them up here, but having to come out here to hold an offensive possession.
That was Julien Gabriel with that goal. As you said, great defense by GB. He was looking for something in the corner. There was nothing at all available. A bit of a poach into that corner to shut down the space, and then a wide open Gabriel for the goal.
We see another D-line coming out on offense for GB here. These players, typically ones who are on that D-line squad, but trusted to come out here on offense after the break to put in the second offensive point in a row.
Beck Hay throws to Sax Dixon, but it's far beyond his outstretched arms, even with those long arms attached to that long body. France look for a second break to get them on a run. Boy, would this be a good time for them to get going. That one up and kept in hand by Robles. He's on the sideline. Becker is there, but not before the defense. GB take it back again.
Karen Kwok with a run through D there, so fast.
Andy Lewis.
Hey, spacing! Go through D! Go through D!
And a call on the field.
Don't know whether it's an in-out call or a foul call, but Andy Lewis indicating that it stopped play when he caught it, so everyone should go back to where they were.
Disc is in. He winds up. He does put it. There was some separation. What a grab laying out on the goal line there. Not on the celebratory side. This one is. The French looked like they had a break opportunity there, and GB storms back the other way to slam the door. It's 10-8 GB.
Karen Kwok with that run through D. Then Rachel Turton with that great layout grab on the long throw. And then Becky Hay with the final score. The women of the GB O-line here going to work for their team, getting them that all-important hold, preventing France from taking the opportunity to equalize.
GB, here's another look at it. There's the big wind up and throw outside in. What a grab. I think she tacoed it in her own hands, grabbing it so tightly before it even hit the earth. Rachel Turton, she has been to Australia recently, playing in the AUL there, their version of professional ultimate 6-on-6. I suspect she would be a prime candidate for Ulti League once it gets going here in Europe. We'll hope to see her on the interest lists, along with just about everybody in a championship game at this caliber, at this elite level.
The GBD line hyping themselves up here to try and go get a break. They are going in the slight downwind direction. The French O-line looking slightly into the wind to try and get this hold.
Moirier lets it go to ground and picks up deep in his end zone. Bichon comes under to help out. And the French were looking slightly disorganized for a second before Delaval came back to help, but we've got to pick up fields.
Tessa Hunt with a great pull run down there, preventing that first throw option off that amazing deep pull.
Delaval, Boyon. Boyon goes right through his intended receiver, and Sophie Bichon cannot close the hands on that one. GB slow to set this one up, recognizing the importance of this short field opportunity. Boxell, Winder, back to Boxell, and he is on the move, is Winder. Giving and going, moving at an exceptional pace before that pick is called. Barak with the disc. The French ready to tap in and play D. Barak now cuts the field in half. He's got Tessa Hunt there with that inside out break. GB 11-8 now, stretching it open into this second half.
hand injury not at all affecting Hunt's performance there. She was the one who ran down that pole. She got there before the disc was even picked up. Some stifling reset defense on those handlers, and then GB able to force a turn and put that one in for the break. The French team signaling for women on the pitch. We need to come out here again. We've been talking a little bit about the comeback train that you need to string together previously in this tournament. France are looking at the start of that train at the moment. They need to have this hold, then they need to get a break, and then another break to come back in this game. We know it's not beyond them. This French team is very strong, but they have been potentially so strong in this tournament so far that they may not have faced a challenge as high as this GB squad.
Jubilation there from Tessa Hunt. You see her all smiles collecting that goal. You couldn't be more right, Joanna. The hold, break, run sequence we've talked about a little bit. They need to start things off here. The O-line has to get things going. The hold is the first tall task for the French. That one hits the ground and rolls through the legs, in fact, of Price Lazarus. And a close one, Anslin gets up, blowing off a bit of exasperation. Happy to have hung on to that one. Coin now to Monet. Anslin goes up line and knocks his man right off his feet. Martin Hall hits the ground as Anslin has a bit too much body contact on the change of direction.
We don't see Delaval on this offensive point for France. She's been really their central handler so far, and perhaps just resting a point, but a slightly different offensive look from France.
Alternatively, they do have Antoine, who's come out from the D line out there. That one goes. Defense is in front and got just enough of a piece of it. A great play by Katie Flight. She took flight indeed, got up and took that one away.
A nice inside line there from Flight, recognizing that the disc was coming down a little bit earlier than would have been ideal for the offense to have an opportunity. Getting a hand on it first of all, and then following it up at the back of the end zone to make sure there was no second opportunity.
There's that second look as Cox and Kelly brings the disc to live position on his goal line corner. Mark comes under, but everything very well covered. Good to get that one to Beck Hay, center of the goal line, and there's a discussion with a hand on a head, which would insinuate a stall out.
Players will discuss. The important factor is whether the disc left Cox and Kelly's hands before the marker said the T of 10. By the discussion, it looks like there is a potential contest call.
The first utterance of the T in 10, as the rule states. That's not something we'll even be able to see on our cameras for a replay.
I think by the hand signals, it's a retracted stall out call. Even though the French defender admits he was incorrect in the stall out, the play is still stopped. So GB perhaps lose a little bit of advantage there.
Becca Hay back to Cox and Kelly playing out of their end zone. Now he goes for meters. The defense gets in front. Second chance, also not able to be caught and knocked down by the French defender, Combray. Anslin picks up. He's got a short field in front of him and a very clean-looking stack. The dump defender sags off in the lane, and we have got a Frenchman down. It is Antoine.
An injury indicated. I don't think there was any contact on that injury, so perhaps just contact with the ground or running causing that injury.
Antoine goes out to check out her body, see how she's doing, and Chagnot comes in to take her place. Same situation with Anslin, ready to engage his dump, but a violation called. Ancelin with the disc goes to Price Lazarus. She gets it to Cambrai. Cambrai to Ancelin, and he gets moving. Ancelin looking to go around or back the other way and uses the short side of the field. Just enough room to keep that one in play is Coyne, and she goes back to Ancelin again. He is demanding the disc on this goal line look. Gets it again. That one looks like it was there for the taking, but the throw too far out in front, and the French unable to capitalize once again.
Some confusion on the pitch there. Before that disc went up, a couple of players in the stack tangling and going down. Some players stopping as if they thought it might be a call, but no call happening. So a little bit of stop and start in that end zone there from the French.
GB get the under to Turton. She fakes the big one. Now gives the big one. Cambrai is there on defense. Well played to stay in front. Martin Hall could never get in reception position there. Cambrai was too quick to get in front, and the throw just not enough on it to get behind and keep his advantage that he had from separation.
The GB line here showing a little bit of impatience, wanting to put the disc down towards their own end zone, perhaps faster than they're ready for it.
Ancelin comes under again, it's Coyne. Again, the French, Saint-Jean, want Ancelin. They have him. There was a wide open receiver for the French in the end zone, but no opportunity for throw. What a bid by Martin Hall. Ancelin calls a foul on it. A diving hand block, essentially.
And then the disc actually bounced off the hands of the other handler, giving her an opportunity to catch it herself, but not taken advantage of. Here we'll see this replay.
Oh, he's got a point indeed. He dove into the swinging arm there. Ancelin lucky to have that throwing arm, still firing in good health after that impact. Cambrai with the disc. He goes to the end zone. Turton is there on defense and is in front from the get-go. Ever since it left his hand, it looked like it was only a D. What a bid! And a wise timeout again by Andy Lewis after he puts on the Superman cape. He throws his hat down in a bit of frustration, I still believe, even though he made that exceptional play.
Absolutely, showing a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of frustration. The GB D-line there doing a great job of taking in that turn. You can see the effort that they put in across. Martin Hall getting a bit of a hand in the face there for his defensive effort, but then Rachel Turton doing an amazing job of tracking down the D in the end zone. Andy Lewis there with that catch. I agree, possibly a bit pumped up, but also there will be a bit of a competition on this GB squad for who is known as the nicest player in the GB Ultimate scene. Andy Lewis would definitely be up there, widely recognized as one of the most level-headed, nice players to play with and against. So perhaps a hat thrown, but I think in a little bit of frustration, but also in excitement and pumping his team up.
The French continue to chug their train around their huddle there, trying to maintain the good vibes that have got them this far. Another look at some of the fans. Writer Ned Carvey there taking a little nap. He might have been up late last night, enjoying himself a bit too much. Wow, what a grab there, though, on the replay. Can't say enough about the way he left his feet.
We've seen quite a lot of layouts in this game on defense, which you expect, but also on offense, which you might not expect from teams of this throwing caliber. And that one was well reeled in, but we've seen quite a few layouts or contested catches so far that have bounced off the hands, possibly quite a few ground strips so far in this game. And that has sometimes been the difference between holds and breaks for both of these teams. Each of their throws going a little bit awry, plenty of athletic effort from the receivers to get there, but then quite a few of them not managing to stay in the hands of the player who hits the deck.
So 11-8, 3-point difference here. GB with the disc. A goal here would really have the French doubting their ability to bring it back 4 away if GB can walk one in here after the timeout.
We're about 15 minutes from the cap as well, so we may well close it out on points, or if the points continue to be as long as they have been, we may well close it out with a point cap.
Funny, we were scoring at a scorching pace in the first half when there was all sorts of turnovers. Now the turnover has been reduced a little bit, but the points have been stretched out longer, taking a bit more time to put points on the board. GB in play, Andy Lewis with the disc, centering to Turton. She goes to wider, but that's all Ancelin. And now the French with an opportunity of their own. Ancelin unmarked until Cox and Kelly catches up from upfield. Price Lazarus with the disc. The GB defense looked disorganized initially on the transition. Now they've caught up. Monet with the disc. Monet gets the long jumping Ancelin. They get exactly what they needed. 9-11, bring it back to within 2. A very important goal there for the French.
Not easy for them to make that. They had to go through a few turnovers to get the disc into that end zone, but very well fielded there on that final possession. Ancelin is just going both ways for his team with that defense and then scoring that goal. You have to think that some of the question now for this GB side will be, who can we put on him? We've thrown some of our best defenders on him, and people haven't seemed to really make a difference yet. So part of the GB D-line strategy may have to be organizing around containing Ancelin.
A very long point there. If you can remember all the way back to the start of that, we talked about the sequence the French needed. That was indeed a hold, a 3 turnover apiece hold, 6 turnover point hold. They've got phase 1 of it. Now they'll need the break. They will need a defensive effort and the ability to convert. GB obviously opposed to any of that business if they can do anything about it. Link gets things kicked off. A bit of a new look from the French here into a very widespread arrowhead. Match defense downfield. That one goes up. Lepagnol on the chase. Too far in front for Ellie Taylor. She had separation, but the throw was not precise enough. And the French have disc in hand for that break opportunity.
Just feet in front of Taylor there. Such a fast receiver, as we've mentioned before. She has wheels on her, but just not enough float on this disc for her to be able to readjust her angle of attack and get a hand on it.
Bichon gets a wide open under. Continuation to Antoine. And again to Bichon. He winds up, he gives it, it is fast but not high enough. Turner smacks it to turf. GB up and going, Turner with the disc. Now Coldhammer. In front, attacking end. That one, oh, the bid was nearly there, but Turner keeps his wit. Hangs on with one mitt and stretches it back to 3. It's 12-9 GB.
That's the second point we've seen. Taylor to Turner right on that sideline, pushing it into the end zone just past the reaches of the defender. Those two have quite a good connection, very comfortable putting the disc in tight spaces, and well, a little bit of a shake there. Some of those throws going a little bit funny for the GB side. An eventual hold keeps them ahead with the same points advantage.
So a wild game here indeed. Just when we think the French are about to bring it back, start their run, GB finds ways to get advantages, whether by error or their own accord. And this time the error caused the turn, but they had a very steady attack back towards the end zone, walked it in, and re-stretched it to a 3-point lead.
A break apiece so far in the second half for each of these teams. That is quite even. With 3 breaks in the first half, and France with only 1 in response leaves GB 2 breaks up in this second half.
So the French, as we say, need that string. It starts here with a hold. Boyon wide open in the middle. Saxe-Dixon catches up. He was protecting the deep territory. Ancelin gets the disc. The upline cut developed, but not before the pick slowed things down. Moirier. Ancelin having a dance, not able to get separation, and now a hope and a prayer, and Saxe-Dixon takes that away. There was lots of contact on it, and Boyon, the Frenchman who went up, still on the ground after the contact.
He definitely came down quite hard from that one, and his feet were swept out from under him with the height to which he jumped, so landed quite hard on his back.
His right leg hit hard there. Sputtered out as he hit on his back. Good to see him walking off the field. A little bit of assistance, but seems like his weight bearing is okay. He should be okay. Roblet comes in for him. The result of the play will be a contested foul if it's going back to the throw.
That does look like the outcome of that call. Frustration from the GB side potentially to not get that turnover, but we are seeing a great matchup here on Ancelin. We have Burak trying to shut him down in that handler space.
Moirier desperate for a look now. Another prayer. Saxe-Dixon there again, and he breaks it up again. The credit to the GB defense, particularly on the mark there. Big mark around Moirier. 2 times he needed to throw up lofty 50-50s if they even got that good of a percentage on them. Saxe-Dixon gets the under. He'll be open for those all day long. But cannot continue. Both French defenders converging in the lane there, taking it away. Ancelin moves on and gets the disc back after a violation slows things down. Ancelin sends, it's over Saxe-Dixon this time. Great play by Roblet to keep the legs moving on the other side of the big defensive unit for GB. And France strike back into our 94th minute now. It's 12-10 still up for GB.
Punches from both sides offense there. Great job. Saxe-Dixon didn't have position there on that deep shot and didn't make a dangerous bid into the back of the player after a point with quite a bit of contact from either side. So nice to see that play come down cleanly. France will be thrilled with that hold. Definitely not a clean one. Turnovers from each side, but finished well in the end. The GB team now coming out again on offense. Still having pulled over Josh Keim from their offensive line. So a little bit of rotation in this line, but still looking to try and hold here. If both teams can hold until the end of the match, GB will win on points difference. So GB's task is put our O points in. France's task is put our O points in and get breaks.
France with the more difficult task quite obviously from that explanation. Link with the disc. Colt Hammer goes to ground to clap that one, then sends it deep. Turner knew he couldn't get there and lets it get ahead before wasting too much energy on that task.
Turner apologizes, looking back at Colt Hammer for that. He had started to come under by the time Colt Hammer had decided to throw that throw. Bit of miscommunication there between the cutters on the GB side leads to a turnover. France with the whole distance of the pitch to go, but GB didn't want to be on defense here.
Walked right back to the cone there by the French. They come out to Chagnon. And a fresh line out with Gabriel. Cheminot. Gabriel again. He fakes a wide open French cutter. Finally getting her hands on the disc is Saint-Jean. She was being poached off, and that one caught just in bounds by Cheminot. Great cut to continue, but the throw makes Gruau go to ground.
Pick called in Stack stops the play, and Wilkinson just indicating what she thinks has happened, catching up with her offensive player.
GB defense is tight. You see Becker go the other way. She opened up with a throw, not on an easy spot. Lapagnol hangs on. A deadly weapon for the French, but has been somewhat neutralized by the GB Giants themselves. Chagnon, that one ill-advised. The defense on the hip. Sam Turner jumps in front and gets that D for GB. They get another chance to hold, and the French squander a late game break opportunity that they so desperately need. Colt Hammer there, Lapagnol with his hand on it, but not enough for the D. Upline cut, well defended, goes around, fakes the break flick, and back to Colt Hammer. Colt Hammer up line, too far in front for Link, and the French with another opportunity.
This time Colt Hammer apologizing to Link for slightly overthrowing her. A great layout attempt, but the sideline was there to prevent her from reeling that one in.
Romain Cheminot. He comes inside to Gabriel. Gabriel wound up, but then gets Lapagnol coming under. Lapagnol winds up. He's got chase from Grau. He's gonna get there, not quite in. Has an immediate receiver. Can he engage him? Doesn't need to, because at least Becker follows up, and the French get a huge break there to bring it to within one late in this game. We're in our 98th minute of play.
Massive offensive possession there from the French. I'm glad that Becca caught it in the end zone, because she had been putting in work all point there for the French. The French women just running miles in that point for their team. Open deep plenty of times, open under plenty of times, not hit necessarily every single time, but opening up lots of the space on the pitch.
Back, and that is another break or two. We all know it's two breaks that they need to get the win, but one at a time. They can ill afford to let GB have too many more holds. Let's see what the pressure of this defense plus the pressure of closing out a game can do to GB. A zone type look from the French. It is indeed, and a step through D from Robles, and the French. Bichon picks up, and they've got a short field. They've got another goal. It's tied up at 12. I cannot believe what I'm seeing here. The French get just what they needed with time running out. We've hit 100 minutes, and we're all tied up at 12. Oh my goodness, Joanna.
Not the result that we thought we might see at half or even in the first half of the second half. France really trailing throughout this game, losing a few breaks early and not managing to come back, but here they do with a powerful performance, a run through D and an easy find in the end zone. GB really caught off guard, just a simple error from them. Here we see both teams taking a timeout, taking a second to rally themselves as they prepare for this universe point. Not the end to this game that I think we had predicted, given the start, as we see the GB line come close together, some of their strategic captains taking a minute to consider what they're going to say. The French line absolutely riled up. Lots of enthusiasm from them as they come together in a joyous huddle.
And this has all happened so fast. A timeout taken, the French break with no time remaining. We are on universe point. 12 apiece. Very little to separate these two teams. All season long, all tournament long. GB has held the lead for the bulk of this second half. The French have stole all the momentum. I cannot contain myself. I can only imagine the nerves down on that field. Timeout is what everybody needs to get a little bit of breath before this universe point for the penultimate championship of this EUC 29 edition is able to wrap itself up.
The crowd now really getting into the game as well. Lots of chanting and stomping and cheering from that far side. The French are very loud, very happy, very excited in their huddle. GB a little bit more subdued, some frustration, some slight hesitation perhaps from the players. They get to start on offense for this universe point, but they've had a little bit of a shake on offense throughout this game. So this line that we see out now is the GB universe line. The line that we see from France is their universe line. The superstars of both teams coming out again to match up for one final point, the last point left in the European Ultimate Championships 2019.
What a game, and not only universe point, this is a multiverse point, coined by Benji Reese, of course, a championship universe point. The pull is up. It's all on the line here. GB sets things underway from their own end. Martin Hill to Dathan. Back up line. Receiver found there. Wind up, not taken. England playing behind the disc. It's Dathan for GB. Tight mark there. A little bit of contact, no call on it. Diving defense on the mark, and Bichon runs through trying to get a piece. High stall count, pick called. A small break in the action here. GB has moved it up beyond half.
I think that a call that might be happening on the pitch is a gender mismatch. If we look at the players on the pitch, Kwok is being marked by a male player, and there are no gender mismatches downfield as far as I can see. So it looks like there was miscommunication between the teams about which players should be on this final point. What that does mean, if there was a gender mismatch when the point started, the point is invalid. It does not count. They have to replay it from the start.
I think you've got that correctly assessed, Joanna. Let's see how they get it. A multiverse point negated to start over would just add even more drama to this drama-filled game.
totally unexpected in the universe point of a final of a championship like this. Miscommunication from both sides. The GB squad was doing a very good job of seeing some of that calm, chilly offense that they had wanted to see at the start of the game. As we see the point dissolve, both teams agree that it did not count. If you have a gender mismatch, you cannot play out the point. So both of them regrouping to take the point again.
We assume that might happen. The disc has maintained its position on the ground there, simply put down. We'll see if we've got it assessed right or not. The way they've set themselves up, they're configured as though it could be a timeout, leaving that disc on the ground. That wouldn't make sense to me, as it wouldn't to the rules interpretation that Joanna's so eloquently conveyed to you at home. We can only wait with bated breath to see what happens next.
Again, we see the two different team attitudes in this huddle. The French jumping up and down with excitement. The GB team a little bit more quiet, a little bit more stoic. We see the teams part to either side, and it does look like they're bringing the disc back in from where it is in the pitch. And it may be that we've misunderstood what the call on the field is. It may be that an agreement has been come to between the teams. It may be that France is saying this was our fault. We made the mistake here, therefore we should take the penalty. Both of us will have to go back and have a look at the rules and see how this has played out. But in the meantime, we have GB back on offense with a possession greater than half pitch, getting to set up again as if out of a timeout.
So GB set up in a very wide split stack. Lots of room in front of the disc. We're in action here, multiverse point. Dathan with the disc. Surveying options, here comes an under, well defended. Defense is tight, that one's popped up and over. Kwok with the disc. Engages or dump. Nothing there, good defense from Bichon. He flops to the ground, can't get a piece. Upline cut, well defended again. The defense all over them, but GB keeping their cool and continuing to complete passes. Nick Williams, shot in front, a bit on the play, but not able to collect. This one for goal, that's it! GB has done it! Championship point! Elation for Great Britain. They have won the EUC 2019 championship.
But it looks like some players on the pitch have stopped playing. There's celebrations from both sides, and that was an absolutely massive goal. But it does look like a goal is being signaled, but I believe that Turton is back with an injury in the back of the field. She'll be attended to by the medical professional. They will leave her with it, but the rest of the teams will gather together. I believe that point stands. I believe that GB has just completed it on that universe point. They have won 13-12, a universe point final finish in the mixed division of the European Ultimate Championships.
What a finish to that game. The French came clawing back in. Great momentum to allow a universe point, a fantastic throw to score, and an unfortunate turn of events at the end of it. We hope for nothing but the best for Turton after collecting the championship goal under the duress underfoot there. What a game, Joanna. We're going to have to settle our breath. Thank you all so much for joining us here in Győr, Hungary. A wonderful week by all. We're going to send ourselves back to our homes, back in our own directions, and settle into our post-tournament depressions. We will catch you at the very next tournament. Thanks for joining us. I've been Stefan Rapazzo with Joanna Haber. We'll catch you next time.
Her reaction was like,
No, stop.